Once upon a time, in a faraway kingdom, there was a beautiful princess named Ella. She had long golden hair, sparkling blue eyes, and a smile that could light up the darkest night. Ella lived in a grand castle with her father, King Richard, and her mother, Queen Isabella. The castle was surrounded by lush green forests, rolling hills, and a sparkling blue river that flowed gently through the kingdom. Ella was loved by everyone in the kingdom because she was kind, generous, and always ready to help those in need. She would often visit the villages, bringing food and gifts to the poor and sick. The people adored her and would always look forward to her visits. Despite being a princess, Ella never thought herself better than anyone else. She treated everyone with kindness and respect, and her heart was pure and full of love. One sunny day, while Ella was walking in the forest, she heard a soft cry for help. Following the sound, she came across a little bird trapped in a thorny bush. The bird's wing was injured, and it couldn't fly. Ella gently freed the bird, took it back to the castle, and nursed it back to health. The bird, grateful for Ella's kindness, stayed by her side from that day on. Ella named the bird Pippin. As the years passed, Ella grew into a young woman. She became even more beautiful, and her kindness only grew. Many princes from far and wide came to the kingdom, hoping to win her heart. But Ella's heart belonged to someone she had never met. Since she was a little girl, Ella had dreams of a brave knight who would come and sweep her off her feet. She knew in her heart that this knight was out there somewhere, waiting to find her. One day, a terrible storm hit the kingdom. The wind howled, and the rain poured down in torrents. The river overflowed, flooding the villages and causing great distress to the people. King Richard and Queen Isabella were worried, and they called upon the kingdom's strongest and bravest knights to help. Among them was a young knight named Sir Henry. He was tall, with dark hair and piercing green eyes. He was known for his bravery and strength, and he had come from a distant land to offer his help. Sir Henry worked tirelessly to help the people of the kingdom. He built dams to stop the flooding, rescued those trapped by the rising waters, and brought food and supplies to those in need. Ella watched him from a distance, her heart fluttering with admiration. She had never seen such bravery and selflessness before. She felt a connection to Sir Henry, as if he was the knight from her dreams. After the storm had passed, the kingdom began to recover. Sir Henry was hailed as a hero, and the people celebrated his bravery. Ella knew she had to meet him. One evening, she invited Sir Henry to the castle for a banquet. As they sat together, Ella felt her heart race. She could see the kindness in his eyes, and she knew that he was the one she had been waiting for. Over the next few weeks, Ella and Sir Henry spent a lot of time together. They would go for long walks in the garden, ride horses through the countryside, and talk for hours. Ella told him about her dreams, and Sir Henry listened with rapt attention. He told her about his adventures and the places he had seen. They grew closer and closer, and soon, they fell in love. One day, as they were walking by the river, Sir Henry got down on one knee and took Ella's hand. "Princess Ella," he said, "from the moment I saw you, I knew you were the one for me. You are kind, brave, and beautiful. Will you do me the honor of becoming my wife?" Ella's eyes filled with tears of joy. "Yes, Sir Henry," she said, "I will." The kingdom rejoiced at the news of their engagement. The wedding was a grand affair, with people from all over the kingdom coming to celebrate. Ella wore a stunning white gown, and Sir Henry looked dashing in his knight's armor. They exchanged vows and promised to love and cherish each other for the rest of their lives. As time went on, Ella and Sir Henry ruled the kingdom together. They were loved by their people, and their kingdom prospered under their kind and just rule. They had many adventures together, facing challenges and overcoming them with courage and love. And they lived happily ever after, their love story becoming a legend that would be told for generations to come. Ella's dreams had come true, and she had found her brave knight. Together, they showed that with love, kindness, and bravery, anything is possible.
Crystal cautiously. As she touched it, she felt a surge of energy flow through her. In an instant, she was transported to a vision. She saw her kingdom, Lemuria, but it was not the peaceful and prosperous land she knew. Instead, it was under threat Once upon a time, in a kingdom nestled amidst rolling hills and verdant forests, there lived a noble king and queen. They longed for a child, and their wish was granted when the queen gave birth to a daughter as fair as snow, with lips as red as blood, and hair as black as ebony. They named her Snow White. Years passed, and the queen fell ill and passed away. The king, devastated by his loss, sought solace in his daughter, who grew into a kind and gentle young woman. However, the king remarried a vain and wicked queen who possessed a magic mirror that she would consult daily, asking, "Mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the fairest of them all?" The mirror always replied that the queen was the fairest, until one day it declared that Snow White, now a young woman, had surpassed her in beauty. Consumed by jealousy, the wicked queen ordered her huntsman to take Snow White into the forest and kill her. Unable to carry out such a heinous deed, the huntsman released Snow White, warning her to flee into the woods and never return. Lost and frightened, Snow White stumbled upon a cottage deep in the forest. Inside, she found everything small but neat and tidy, indicating it was inhabited. Tired and weary, she fell asleep on one of the small beds. The owners of the cottage were 7 dwarfs who worked in the mines nearby. When they returned home, they were surprised to find Snow White asleep in their bed. Upon hearing her story, they welcomed her into their home, moved by her kindness and beauty. Snow White, grateful for their hospitality, took on the role of caring for their home while the dwarfs worked during the day. Meanwhile, the wicked queen, unaware that Snow White was alive, continued to consult her mirror. Learning that Snow White still lived and was the fairest in the land, she concocted a plan to eliminate her rival. Disguising herself as an old peddler woman, the queen visited the cottage where Snow White lived with the dwarfs. She offered Snow White a poisoned apple, claiming it would grant wishes. Despite the dwarfs' warnings, Snow White succumbed to temptation and took a bite of the poisoned apple. The effect was immediate. She fell into a deep, death-like sleep. Heartbroken, the dwarfs placed her in a glass coffin, where she remained as if in eternal slumber. One day, a prince from a neighboring kingdom happened upon the glass coffin while riding through the forest. Struck by Snow White's beauty, he begged the dwarfs to let him take her coffin to his castle. Moved by his sincerity, they agreed. As the prince's servants carried the coffin, they stumbled, dislodging the piece of poisoned apple from Snow White's throat, breaking the curse. Snow White awoke to find herself in a grand castle, surrounded by the prince who had awoken her and his joyful subjects. Overwhelmed with gratitude, she accepted the prince's proposal of marriage. They were wed with great celebration, and Snow White forgave the wicked queen for her past deeds. However, the tale does not end there. The wicked queen, upon learning of Snow White's awakening and marriage to the prince, attended their wedding. But her envy and hatred consumed her so fiercely that she collapsed and died. Her reign of vanity and malice ended, and Snow White and her prince ruled the kingdom with compassion and wisdom, beloved by all who knew them. And so, Snow White's story became a legend, a testament to the power of kindness, resilience, and the enduring magic of true love in overcoming darkness and adversity. After their wedding, Snow White and the prince ruled their kingdom with wisdom and compassion. The dwarfs, who had grown fond of Snow White, visited the castle often, bringing gifts from their mines and sharing in the prosperity of the kingdom. Snow White, now a queen, continued to be beloved by all for her gentle nature and beauty, which seemed to radiate even brighter after her ordeal. As time passed, Snow White and the prince were blessed with children, filling the castle with laughter and joy. The dwarfs became honorary uncles, doting on the royal children and regaling them with stories of their adventures with Snow White in the forest. The kingdom flourished under their rule, known far and wide for its peace and prosperity. Yet, not all was entirely peaceful. The memory of the wicked queen haunted Snow White at times, a reminder of the darkness that had once threatened her happiness. She often wondered what had driven the queen to such extremes of jealousy and hatred. Despite the forgiveness she had extended, Snow White could not shake off the feeling that there was more to the story. One day, while exploring the castle's library, Snow White came across an ancient book that spoke of a powerful sorceress who had once wielded dark magic in the kingdom. Intrigued, Snow White delved deeper into the history of her land, uncovering secrets long buried and forgotten. She learned of a prophecy that foretold the rise of a queen whose beauty would be unmatched, but whose heart would be consumed by envy and pride. The sorceress, it was said, had cursed the queen with an insatiable desire for beauty and power, driving her to commit unspeakable acts in her quest to be the fairest in the land. Snow White realized that the wicked queen had been a victim of this curse, trapped in a cycle of jealousy and despair that had ultimately led to her downfall. Moved by compassion, Snow White sought out the sorceress who still lived in seclusion in the depths of the forest. With the help of the dwarfs and her loyal subjects, Snow White ventured into the heart of the forest, confronting the sorceress who had caused so much pain and suffering. In a heartfelt plea, Snow White asked the sorceress to break the curse that had plagued the kingdom for generations. Touched by Snow White's kindness and bravery, the sorceress agreed to lift the curse, restoring harmony and balance to the land. The dark magic that had clouded the hearts of many began to dissipate, replaced by a renewed sense of hope and unity. With the curse broken, Snow White and her kingdom entered a new era of prosperity and peace. The memory of the wicked queen faded into history, replaced by tales of Snow White's courage and compassion. She became known not only for her beauty, but also for her strength of character and her ability to bring people together. And so, the story of Snow White continued to be told for generations, a timeless tale of love, forgiveness, and the triumph of good over evil. Her legacy endured, inspiring countless others to find beauty not only in appearance, but also in the kindness and goodness that dwells within every heart.